got a piece of basswood here, and I got a deal from one of the woodworking stores that specializes in this. And this is roughly, measure it real quick here, it's about 1 1/8 in thickness. And what I want to do is set my square to about the same size here. And I'm just using a regular adjustable kind of carpenter square. You can use whatever tool you would like. And what I do is I just come down this way and just pull it down this way. So I've got a line that's going down and I'm going back up this way. Now I'm going to take that line and I'm going to cut with my bandsaw down this way. I'm not real concerned about it being a straight cut because I'm not I'm not building a piano. Basically we're carving a stick of wood. I marked this out. It's roughly 1 1/8, like a square, and 4 inches down this way. Now we're going to go over the bandsaw and we're going to do a little bit of cutting on this. Here we are at the bandsaw. Right here. I'm going to turn this sucker on. I'll get several more of these on each side, and but we'll set this block aside. I wanted to show you the next thing. Here I made a jig, and as you can see, it's got a V in it. If you look at it closely, you can see that it's got some cut marks in it already. What I will do is I will set my square that I just got through cutting, as you can see, rotated here so you can see a little bit better. And I am essentially cutting pretty much from down in this corner right down here up to here with the bandsaw. That's going to give me 2 triangles to work with. Now you can see I have 2 triangles. I have 2 triangles to work with. Now we are ready to start doing the carving. So now for our carving portion of this, there's a few things that I find handy. One thing is I don't know if you can see this. This is a thumb guard. If you look really closely at it, you'll see that it's been cut several times. That leather wasn't there, that'd be my finger. And this is a cutting glove that I use on my opposite hand, the one that's not holding a knife. This is available through any of your specialty type of hardware stores that are out there, like Rockler or Woodcraft or some of the others. They are a little bit spendy, a little more expensive, but they do have steel lining and them steel wire kind of thing to keep you from cutting yourself. As far as puncturing, because of the mesh and so forth, it is possible to puncture yourself with a sharp point. Now most of my carving I do with this knife. Doesn't have a very long blade, but you can do these almost entirely with this knife. I like this little pelican blade knife because I can actually get in there and kind of clean out around the pom-pom and so forth when I'm doing a little more of the finishing work, getting ready to use maybe the emery cloth or the Dremel to do kind of the final cleanup before painting. So, first thing I will do for marking this out is I will make a line where the hat brim is. It goes roughly so, and a little bit farther down, roughly so. Same on this side. Now the angle in which you draw this will of course dictate how steep the angle is at the bridge of the nose. This is going to be the bridge of the nose. Then I'm going to draw a big nose here and here. And this gives me a line to get started. So the next step is put on your safety gear. I don't want to bleed on my YouTube video in the new year here. Anyway, that's kind of what we've got going right now. So what I'm going to do now is I will do a V cut, which means I go straight down like so, and then I come in at an angle this way like this, and then I take that chip out. That's how that works. Do that on all sides. Then when I come to the nose, I do the same thing. I just going straight down cutting is a lot like drawing with a pen or a pencil your work in carving. And you come across like this, and then you can cut out a little V like this where the nose is, and cut out maybe a little V right in here at the bridge where it meets the hat band. And so you clean this out. That gives you a starting point. And one thing to remember about carving is it's always okay to go a little bit bigger with your drawing rather than smaller, the way it would look, that you would think it would look when you draw it, because when you start carving you may end up taking more material off, more wood off with your knife and so forth that you hadn't anticipated, and that gives you a little bit of a fudge factor. So as you can see, I've got it trimmed down a little bit. We're ready to do the mustache. So I will draw that in, and I let the point of his mustache be right under that corner where his nose is. So you're just going to draw that in, and then right below it draw another line like that. Again, this is just an approximation of where you want your cuts to go. Then I'm going to go do the same thing I did earlier, and I'm going to, I got some walnut here that's from my brother's backyard back in eastern Kansas. Got another project I'll be working on down the road, make some walnut spoons out of it. This was some walnut he brought out to me last summer, and I had it out in the backyard curing out because it's a lot more moist in eastern Kansas than it is here in Thornton, Colorado. So now we got to this point, and what I want to try to do now is I'm going to make a line here to kind of show you how much I want to trim off of the hat area approximately. So if you can see that line, I am going to shave this down up here so that the nose will protrude out of his face like you would expect it to. So okay, so I cut the bridge of the nose and that sort of thing, the nose and the hat band and so forth a little bit deeper. The thing we want to do now is up at the top I just drew in, you can see a square for the pom-pom. I like drawing a square and working off of the square and rounding off the pom-pom that way. It's just easier for me this way. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line from the middle of that square down to the edge of my cut like that. Okay. Do the same thing on the other side. Now what I will do is I will do the same idea of a V-cut, which again is like drawing with a pencil or a micron pen on a piece of paper, and get the basic outline just like we did below, and then we clean it up and do whatever and to make it look more like a gnome. So as you can see, I got my hat now roughed in, drawn in with the knife instead of a micron pen or a pencil. You have kind of your general outline. You'll see that on the pom-pom I have a square on top. What I'm going to do now is show you another whittling cut, carving cut. We call this one, and I'm going to use my pelican knife for this, but we call this one that we're doing a push cut. And as you can see, I'm using my thumb on my holding hand there, holding this, and I'm just kind of pushing the blade out. So you don't want to have anything out there that can get cut or start bleeding all over your work. That's what I'm doing, and I am getting that sort of a cut, chipping that out. Likewise on do the same thing on this side, but since I'm right-handed, I will do a pull cut like this and chip out those chips. And of course what we're trying to do now is just bring it down to deep enough that we have a pom-pom that we can work with. So we're just going to basically whittle that down to where we got something to work with, where we can round it off and we can take off the edges of the square and make it more of a pom-pom shape. So now I have trimmed down the sides and done some rough things now, and if you look at the top here, it still looks like it's real straight cuts, and where the bandsaw was, same thing on the bottom. So now it really is up to you. You can just kind of use your knife to just kind of whittle around on there and round it off, and it's your own personal preference at this point how you want to do that. I just noticed that we're going to have to get the cheeks put in here too. That's probably our next step.